Have you ever wondered what was out there in the night sky? Stared up at the stars in the hopes of seeing something out of the ordinary? Have you ever heard unexplainable noises coming from a vacant room, or watched a shadow cross the wall in front of you? Have you asked yourself if there's life after this one, or if you had life before? What about strange creatures that are mythical and elusive? Have you experienced deja vu, or felt a prompting to leave because you felt you were in danger? What if tomorrow you were on the fringe? Welcome to another episode of On the Fringe. I'm Philip.
I'm Mark.
And again, you guys see that we are here with our most of the time co-hosts now, Pam and Jess.
Hello.
Welcome, ladies.
Thanks for having us again.
I was watching the opener and I realized I should probably just put your guys' names in there too.
Yeah, special guest.
And like in parentheses, most of the time.
Most of the time.
That's fun.
No, I love having you guys on. You guys make it fun. You guys are very informative, and Mark and I just add a tad bit of ignorance to the show. So you guys carry it, we don't. So
A tad bit.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
But no, tonight we're keeping with the Halloween theme. We're talking tulpas. Are they real? Are they made up? What is it? You've probably heard us mention them a few times here talking. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
And so we're just kind of explore it tonight. We were talking backstage that there was some stuff we found out that we really didn't know. I mean, Jess may have known, but we didn't. And we're going to just kind of explore it. But first things first, do us a favor, check us out, whatiftomorrowmedia.com. Our affiliates over there, we have Conflicted the Game, we have Duke Cannon, we have My Patriot Supply. More on that probably here in a couple weeks. I've heard some things to pass along today with that. Also, don't forget, we have merch on our website, all that good stuff. I'm trying to get everything changed once I get time. But also, don't forget, we have a new Buy Me a Coffee. If you guys don't want to buy the merch or going to the affiliates and all that stuff, and you guys just want to buy us a coffee, throw a little bit of change at us, nothing much. Every little bit will help the show out. We put this on and it comes out of our pocket. So any little bit of help would be greatly appreciated. So moving forward, tulpas, man. I didn't realize, we'll kind of go into a little bit of the history real quick. I believe that's probably my wife, but I'm not sure.
Hi, Facebook user.
So, I say that, but watch it be some guy that's got a beard and all that stuff. That's not my wife.
I'm checking.
Pull it up real quick. I got it here. Nope, it's Caleb. Hey, see there?
Hey, there you go.
Hey, Caleb, how you doing, man?
On mine too.
Let's see. I'm trying to get something straightened out here real quick. There we go. Anyway, we're moving on. I didn't realize that it was a Buddhist monk thing. It's kind of from what my understanding is where tulpas got their start. I didn't realize that. I thought it was just I don't remember where I heard it first. I want to say I heard it first on The Darkness on the Edge of Town, with Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis. And I want to say that's probably the first time I'd ever heard of one. And I believe they were talking Hat Man. And how they thought, he may have been a tulpa, or something old that basically rebranded himself, for lack of a better term, something new, but it's still the same entity. But I didn't really realize that an individual could create it. I understand that the power of the people, so to speak, the consciousness of people together could create something, kind of like Slender Man. That's probably the most common one here lately that I know of.
Mhm.
But there's others out there. But yeah, it blew my mind that there are websites, there are videos on how to create your own, and that to me is unnerving.
That is yeah.
Extremely.
I was watching it. It's like,
Yeah,
The scary part is you see some things that talk about the fact, make your own tulpa, make your own imaginary friend. Things will be great. And yeah, that's never a good idea to lend yourself an opening like that to let whatever.
right.
like I was telling Phil earlier, I mean, I can understand the authors, basically say, "Oh, all of a sudden the book was writing itself. I could hear the voices, characters in my head." Well, that would be the tulpa people are trying to create.
The muse.
It's
Yeah.
a muse. It's probably a healthy one,
Mhm.
but doing it intentionally it kind of freaks me out.
Yeah.
The accidental ones that people create in mass, those can be pretty frightening. Uh, the collective consciousness creates one that actually has the power to manifest physically. I don't think an individual could probably make one powerful enough to manifest physically, but when you've got hundreds or thousands of people thinking about the same thing, then that gets pretty frightening because it's usually the negative thought forms that become, you know, self-sustaining.
Right. That feed off the energy. You're talking about, the individual creating one. I watched a video, and it was just a video. It was kind of a Twilight Zone-ish show on YouTube here earlier. It's about a 15-minute long video, and it was a pretty cool little story. These paranormal investigators go in to this guy's house, and he is you can tell he's a monk, and he's just talking about his meditation and all that. Well, throughout the video, it shows him manifesting like a pitcher of tea, and it's just kind of weird, but it was a really, really interesting, and to me, it really kind of explained what everything else I looked at was. It was just how this individual, and it was a monk, but how they said it takes so much meditation to create that. And and eventually the main character in the episode was a manifestation of his. So it was interesting. It was entertaining. Just
Cool.
Jess, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I have tons.
And that's why you're here.
I do. I have 1,001s. We could go anywhere. Like, for instance, you guys were talking about maybe a full-on tulpa couldn't be created by one person. What if we totally can? What if that's what ghosts are?
Yeah.
I mean,
We have an inner dialogue with ourselves. We have, the bad angel and the good angel on our shoulder. We talk to ourselves constantly. We have a other us inside of us, or our spirit. And what if we've manifested this thing so much that when our bodies leave, that's the spirit that's left behind. And sometimes they stick around.
That's interesting.
Perhaps we've already created our own tulpa.
That is a cool idea.
That is,
Yeah.
that is
like
pretty
a
cool.
copy of ourselves to float around.
It's the copy of ourselves floating around. Maybe the people who don't leave a ghost behind are the non-players.
Yeah.
The NPCs.
Right.
Yeah. And for that matter, perhaps some ghosts are created because so many of the family members so want and wish for them to still be there that they create their own version, their own tulpa of that person. That's just kind of a foggy mist that sticks around for a little while. So you could say that ghosts are tulpas.
That's really kind of actually mind-blowing when you think about that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you could literally, you could literally take religion out of it completely. And I'm not harping on anybody who's religious or anything like that. This is just a theory. So you could take religion out of it completely and say that the spirit is literally our inner tulpas that we've created from childhood on.
Where
And the spirit, yeah, the spirit we leave
actually
behind.
move on. We actually move on, but then we leave that shadow.
Well, if
Yeah.
you think about because the tulpa is a split. It's you. It's part of you, and you split it to the point where it has its own. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Autonomy?
Kind of, yeah. So if you've got that part of you split, it already knows everything about you. It knows it is you, basically. So yeah, if that's split enough to where if you did pass on, it would, theoretically be able to stay. That makes sense. I hadn't even thought of that. That's fascinating.
It's like cloning your hard drive and then continuing to use the old one, and they're just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think some of our most famous hauntings are tulpas. And the one that I feel kind of hits closest to home is Sally from the Sally house.
For sure.
If you do your research on Sally, you're going to see that nowhere in the history of that house was there ever a Sally. Was there ever a story that matched the one that we hear about now? That didn't arise until the Pickmans invited a psychic into the house. And the psychic told this story about little Sally and came up with a whole spiel. And then suddenly after that is when the family started having visitations from Sally. That's when the husband saw her standing at the top of the basement staircase and started having visions of her and started drawing pictures of her. She didn't come about until then. And I think at the time that the psychic came in, the Pickmans were in such a frenzy. They were so scared about what was happening in the house that when they finally had something like a vision to latch onto of what this thing was, they did it so well that they created her. And I think that's why no one else that's ever gone into the house has ever run across her except for occasional psychics. And I think that it's because they know the story already. So they latch onto that and they use it to forward their story. But yeah, I think Sally is a tulpa. I do think that she exists for the Pickmans because they still to this day see her. He sees her in dreams, and I think she's kind of infiltrated that family, but I don't think she exists for anyone else.
But what happens when everybody starts to be so familiar with this story that they start projecting it upon the house?
Well, I'm sure they have. But it may be a case of where, so the Sally tulpa already exists, and every time anyone feeds into the Sally story, it only strengthens her. But she's only attached to the Pickman family right now. So the Pickmans had discussed that they always knew when there was a big investigation happening inside the house where there was a lot of activity, or maybe they were calling up things they weren't supposed to or provoking, because that's when Sally gets super active in the house they live in now. So what if every time somebody feeds into the Sally story, it strengthens her, but it doesn't do anything with that house because that tulpa is attached to them.
That's interesting too.
Kind of
it is.
Yeah, she's become almost her own sentient being. So it would just keep feeding her. Like that would be her energy pack. Kind of creepy to think about.
I did also talking about that. I did also read that a lot of times negative entities will also attach themselves to tulpas and disguise themselves as that tulpa.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's so dangerous to try to let something in like that, or to create something like that, because it's part of you. And for the majority of the time, if you're going to create one of these things, you go into it with the realization that this thing will be with you permanently. It's very hard to get rid of, if you do it. I mean, there's people that have, but you need to go into it with the thought that this thing's going to be with you the rest of your life. So if you let something out there that, I've seen where they say maybe nature entities or other things can get into that. You don't want that. You lose control at that point if you ever had control.
I don't know that you could.
Yeah, I don't. Your subconscious is too powerful.
Mhm.
I think if you give it too much energy, and if you dwell on, you know, because everybody's had the, well, I can't say everybody because you have the NPCs and all that, but those of us that have the inner dialogue or visualizations and things like that, I think, you know, we've all thought about, you know, especially as kids, you know, you've imagined different worlds and different people and playing and all that. And that's part of being a kid. That's that whole, I think it's that whole conditioning thing again, as adults. But I think if you think over and over, and again, it comes back to manifestation. I mean, whether it be if you're trying to manifest something to benefit you, I think it's all one and the same. But I think if you put enough thought into it, you're feeding whatever it is, and it becomes once it becomes real to you, it's real.
Mhm.
And I think it has a mind and of its own, and it takes its own actions.
There was the lady that, what was her name? She created a tulpa that was supposed to be kind of like a little jolly Friar Tuck kind of thing.
Oh,
And
what
it
was
got
her
away
name?
from her basically,
Hmm.
and she ended up getting rid of it, killing it. Shoot, what was her name?
Got it
Um,
here someplace.
I can't remember her name.
Yeah, it is. She's got a hyphenated name.
Yes, she does.
Um,
Something David, or
yeah.
can't remember what it is. But that's probably the very first story that I ever heard about a tulpa.
Alexandria David Nail
Yes.
or Neil.
And I think she had learned about it from Tibetan monks or from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, one or the other, which is, I guess, the same thing if you really, one came from the other. But yeah, that's I think where I first came across it. But you know, something else when you were talking, we talked about NPCs too. What if some of the NPCs, not all, but what if some of them happen to be people that have created tulpas, whether they intended to or not, to do their day-to-day bidding while they could escape into their own world?
Oh, so the tulpa is using the body while they're in their little escape place.
Mm-hmm.
And that
It
makes a
makes them
certain
an
amount of
NPC.
that does
I
make a
need
certain
one.
amount of sense.
You just
Here,
need
I would
3
like
of
you to
you,
go work
especially
on
this
my
week.
Yeah.
airplanes while I take a vacation in the Bahamas and drink rum drinks out of coconuts.
Right.
Hmm.
I'm gonna share this real quick. Um, I spoke about it a minute ago. You know, Hat Man. You know, it says a sleep paralysis hallucination or something far more sinister. You know, nightmares strike us when we're most vulnerable, lax in sleep in the darkness of night, knowing that their fabrications of our own imagination are of little comfort when we're in the thick of it. The terror is made all the worse if you're part of an unlucky demographic that suffers from sleep paralysis. Traveled or trapped between wakefulness and sleep while suffering from sleep paralysis, one is unable to move as their dreams bleed over in their real environment. That leads me to another thought, but witnesses describe Hat Man as donning either a top hat or a fedora and wearing a jacket often observed by a trench coat. He stands at an estimated 6 to 10 feet tall. Some claim he has glowing red eyes, while others attest that he is made only of shadow with no distinguishable facial features. Several accounts reference a gold pocket watch on a chain while he glances at from time to time. But why are vastly different individuals from an array of cultures and geographies all experiencing the same night terror? Some experts hypothesize that Hat Man is an unconscious reworking of figures out of pop culture. One significant name that comes to mind here is Freddy Krueger, a horror icon that has persisted at the forefront of horror media for the past 4 decades. Man, I'm that old? Dang. It's an easy connection to make, given that the gruesome character attacks you when you're most vulnerable. See, this is another one. I mean, could that be? I mean, I don't. I've seen some
Oh,
things
he
where they
wore a
say,
hat.
right. I mean, I see some things where they say it's a shadow person, and I've seen some they talk where it's a tulpa. Hey, what's up, Sonny? But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to. I don't know that we could actually pinpoint a known entity and say, yeah, that's a tulpa or not. But
I think
the more I found out, it wasn't all exactly what I thought it was.
Same.
Mm-hmm. There's like a lot of different versions of what people consider tulpa. It really depends on what religion you are and which country you live in. It goes clear back to just, meditation and having an inner dialogue with yourself is like the most basic one, all the way up to Slenderman stuff, that it varies greatly. It just depends on which one you want to talk about. Hat Man, I don't even know. I don't know if you could call that a tulpa or not, or if it's its own entity.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I tend to think that Hatman might be more of its own thing, or both. Maybe some Hatmen are tulpas and some are not.
I kind of like the thought that. Well, I don't like the thought. It's scary as hell. But I kind of lean towards Hatman being a different creature, perhaps some kind of a cryptid we don't know about. And that is literally the shape of it. And the closest we can come up with is a Hatman.
Yeah, right. Very well could be.
Also,
isn't what it would really look like if that's just its shadow, though.
Right.
I know. So that's not fun to think about, but
yeah, and only when he only comes when you're suffering from sleep paralysis or whatever.
Well, it leans into alien abduction theory.
True.
So, and supposedly aliens come in all different kind of forms, and supposedly they can project themselves. So what if this is, and I'm not talking about grays here, I'm talking about all different kinds of aliens. I'm sorry, there are aliens. There are other creatures in this universe besides us, and they are not going to all look identical. It's not us. And then this is one other thing. And I really think maybe it's some kind of a projection or something, and you are paralyzed. You have missing time. A lot of time fog's involved. All they can see is the shadow of it, and their heart's racing, and they feel like they've been lifted sometimes. That kind of leans alien for me.
Yeah. It's kind of a funny story here. It's been a while ago. Ben and Joe, UFO Garage, they were talking about just what you were saying. The aliens, they project themselves as others. Well, apparently I don't remember. I'd have to ask them if they remember, because it's been it wasn't long after they got rolling, and they said somebody had spotted this gray. I think it was a gray, but how they say sometimes owls and aliens are connected. They said this alien was running around going owl, 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 and he couldn't transform for some reason. He was trying to run away and transfer. But I've always found that story hilarious.
But I can picture it. It's like me.
If you watch
Don't see me, don't see me, don't see me.
But then there was another one apparently that projected himself as a burrito to somebody.
Oh my god!
So that's they're dangerous.
Confused.
I was just saying that's not a good idea. If that person's hungry.
Oh, don't put a burrito in front of me.
It will literally be the ghost of the bomb burrito at that point.
What is up, brother? What's up, brother Willie?
Hey, Will.
Hello.
But no, I mean it's one of those things, and you were talking about earlier how it could be our spirit. I could kind of see where that ties into a past life, progression, not regression, but progression. The many lives, if that's the case, with we live past lives, move up through. It seems like the story behind that is our spirits are here to learn.
Hmm.
What's saying it's not? What's saying that we aren't the Tulpa that we started out going through these lives, but maybe we're reminiscing on a past life, or um, for that matter, I mean, a future life. Trying to get information from that.
You know what else that makes me think of? If you think about the stories of people who find out that maybe, like the lady she thinks she was the baby that was heard crying in the cemetery, or, somebody thinks that they were the little kids that they saw later on that scared them. They thought they saw these little children ghosts. And when they're older, or when they're younger, they remember seeing an older person as a ghost. And it just is basically, the more they thought about it, they realized it may have been them as a young child that they saw. So what if it is? I mean,
yeah, Willie.
Yeah, that leans into doppelganger. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
No, that's okay. Said I was just reading some stuff about Edgar Casey today. That was really fascinating in regards to past lives. Yeah. That fascinates me. The whole thing does. Near death and past lives really, intrigues me.
That'd be a great one to do. Have you guys done near death experiences yet?
It's been a long time, and I don't know that we did it justice. Jess, were you on there with us?
I don't think we did it justice.
It was at the tail end of something else. We ended up like squeezing it in, I believe.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a full show.
It was one of our rabbit holes.
Yeah, it was like one right after, we started here, maybe a month or two after we started. Said, could that be remote viewing too, far as Pam was saying about seeing an apparition or shadow person?
It could be.
They talk about remote viewing as a part of it.
That would be more as astral projection, I would think, than it would be.
Oh yeah,
remote viewing.
Yeah,
but yeah, it could be.
I don't know. It's just a weird and fascinating subject.
It is. I personally love tulpas so much because you can let go of the entire religious, I'm doing this in my own mind, bull honky completely, because it fits into quantum mechanics. Right. Mm-hmm. Completely.
Yeah.
It fits in every different way. And in fact, if you want, I sat down and tried to write it out in layman's terms so the listeners could understand how it fits in. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to read it verbatim from mine because I knew if I tried to do it by my own means, I would just sit there and go in circles and confuse everybody. So I kind of wrote it out.
Welcome to my everyday.
So, okay. So in the Copenhagen model, the basic one that is followed today, right, of quantum mechanics, all particles and actions, everything in this universe is innately random and chaotic. Everything's just everywhere all at once. And everything in the quantum domain is fundamentally random, and they exist in wave function. So just imagine everything's random, but it's traveling in wave patterns everywhere. So they're going all over the place. In wave function, the distribution of particles, or anything you can think of in the universe, happens when the wave collapses, and it's brought about by an external measurement. So when a decision is made, that is brought into being. That's how things are created in the universe, right? So when a wave function is collapsed by an observer or measurement, it is forced to randomly choose a position with respect to its probability of the equation. So basically what it's saying is, as soon as you think it, things collapse down into the position that it's supposed to be in for that thought. And for anybody who's a little unsure, you can go back to the double slit experiment that they did with the electrons. They ran the electron experiment and it would run something completely different when they weren't looking. But when they watched it happen, they had a completely different result.
Right.
Because chaos theory, quantum mechanics was reigning supreme at that time. It was doing its own thing because they weren't expecting anything, because they weren't actively watching it. Right? So this works really well. So if you think about it that way, if somebody's positing that something should absolutely be there, quantum mechanics states that it could absolutely be there. It already exists in a million pieces, but it will bring it together for you when the chaos collapses. And it also works. So wave functions overlap, and the probability of distribution is amplified into a more definite certainty when many observers are overlapping on these wave functions. So it's saying the more people who are thinking this, the more probable that is going to come together and be. So the same thing with the hive mind. If enough people think it, it'll become.
Huh.
So that's one of the reasons why I love the Tulpa theory so much, because it actually fits in with science. It's one of those things where the science community can't go, that's just stupid. That's just your little magic thinking. It actually fits in very nicely in with quantum mechanics.
Nice.
So that's the nerd in me. I hope some of that made sense. I tried to break it down a little bit.
There's a physicist, is it Aaron O'Connell? I can't think of his name. It
sounds right.
Though. Does that sound right?
It does.
The one that really focused on taking a piece of silicone, basically everything that you make conductors out of, computer parts out of, and he made it very small, and he built a machine that would make this like a swimming pool. I am pulling this off the top of my head. I was reading it last night, actually, completely not in any reference to this. He made a swimming pool like thing to put under it and set it on there, kind of like a diving board. And then he completely pulled everything out of it that could affect it. He pulled all the air out of it. He pulled all of the light out of it. He pulled everything out of it that he could and made it basically in there. And then watched it to see what it would do when nobody was looking. And it vibrated and moved in ways that it shouldn't, and that would be totally never expected of it to move had someone been watching it, had our expectations been put upon that piece of silicone for the ways that we thought it would move, then it would move that way. But void of everything, that could possibly affect it, and left to its own devices, it did its own thing, which I think is absolutely fascinating. And I will have to find that guy's name. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It seems like it was O'Connell, though.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's really
neat.
It
is interesting.
Really, really neat. Weird rabbit hole I went down.
See, I mean, that made me think about, and this is kind of weird, but it made me think about Ghostbusters too. It really did, because of the slime that moves the Statue of Liberty, and they need the positive thoughts and all that.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
That's fun.
I wonder if they were on the same.
Could be.
Levi said, "Sounds like we're going to quantum theory a little bit." Yes, we are. You just got here, so
yes, we always do when Jess is here.
Well,
and Pam just completely butchered what she was trying to describe, but that was the overall.
That's it. Yeah, I have trouble sometimes getting it down into layman's terms. It's hard to describe quantum theory in terms that people can understand. I don't even understand it completely.
I was going to say, I'm not a physicist. I have no clue what it really comes down to.
I wish
be watching.
You're going to call
this other guy.
I wish I had a scientific mind. There's a lot of it I don't grasp, and I've told Pam this before, like when I'm reading stuff on like quantum theory or anything like that, I usually have 3 or 4 books open because I read this one thing and then I have to read another book to figure out what that said. And then I have to read another book to figure out what that book said. And then I'm like down to the children's dictionary.
I'm calling my engineer son, hey, help your weird mom figure this out because it's not clicking.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, just talking quantum theory, how much in the recent time, how much does that come into play, in paranormal?
Way
So
more than we know
much.
about.
It
Right.
seems to be
Yeah.
making a lot of sense with the paranormal.
Yeah.
think
I
that's
would
part of
never.
the point, though, if you look at the fact that, eons ago, man, the way that he looked at the world, he didn't understand thunderstorms. So it became the god, that, Zeus shot the firebolts
Zeus,
or whatever. Thunderbolts. I don't even know my pantheon. Sorry, guys.
mythology.
You know what I mean.
Yep.
They found ways to describe it through myth, and that's pretty much as we progress as a society, we learn more, and as more things become scientifically proven or disproven, that we kind of bump between the lines of the theories. And the more we learn, the more we know, and the more we're able to say, this really isn't paranormal, it's normal. We just didn't have the idea of it yet, or the knowledge of it yet.
What was a mark
Yeah.
you said here a while back? Science is just magic, or magic is just science that hasn't been discovered yet, or something like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
I would have never studied any of this if it hadn't been for the paranormal, for joining our team and me finally having somebody to talk to that was on my level when it came to paranormal. And we were able to discuss something a little bit deeper than, ooh, there was something wispy in the corner. I saw an orb.
Or my EMF detector
Yeah.
just pegged out, Now we
Right.
kind of have more of an idea of what to look for. And
Mhm.
I got
Yeah,
pictures of ghosts in there, bugs.
I would love to
orbs.
have I would love to have photos of us every time we had an epiphany where we figured out something was much more than what we thought. Like starting out from the beginning, we would have folders and folders
I feel
full.
like the more we learn, the more I learn, the less I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, every time we
don't know
figure
what we
out
don't
something.
know.
Yeah,
we don't
every
know
time
what
we
we don't
think we
know.
figured out something, there's 20 more things that pop up because
Mhm.
of it. So it's a never-ending puzzle and I love it.
Yeah, it's the best. We're never going to
Mhm.
run out of stuff we're never going to run out of podcast fodder.
No, I mean, what's funny is
We will.
Mark and I had this long list of stuff we wanted to cover when we first started up because we thought we'd run out of ideas. I don't know how long it's been since we touched that list.
That's been
I
a
haven't
long
even looked
time.
at it in in a long time. Just because every day there's something new that pops up. Let's see. Since you guys, Levi said, since you guys are really into ghost hunting, there's a game called Phasmophobia that is all about ghost hunting. Might be an idea for What If Tomorrow game night. That might be fun.
That might be fun. Yeah.
But talking about Ghostbusters earlier, I guess there's a new game out where you can be the ghost and haunt everything while they hunt for you.
Oh, that's
and stuff.
what
That'd
I'm
be
going to
fun,
do
too.
when I die. I'm going to come back.
I want to be I'll be the librarian ghost.
Or
Maybe I can get my
no.
TBR pile read then.
maybe my Tulpa will be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll move on.
Right.
And it'll stick around and cause
Oh,
chaos.
I have this never-ending to be read pile of books. I never get through it. I keep adding to it. So maybe if I come up with the Tulpa, they can carry on after I can't.
There you go. You
Knock
can
down
assign
that
it homework.
pile. Ooh, yeah, give it homework. There we go.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I had no idea about some of this stuff when I started doing the research because, pardon me, my whole idea of a Tulpa was confined to the materialization of sustained ideas.
Yeah.
By groups of people, not by individuals. And the fact that an individual can create one of these, whether it's a good idea or not, is Very thought provoking.
Have you heard the story of the guy who accidentally created a tulpa from one of the characters out of his wife's book? Have you heard that
but I
one?
can see where that would actually happen.
So this one's really interesting. It was actually, I think it was originally posted like back in 2014, 2015 or something like that. And it was really like tulpas weren't quite a thing. Like I think Slenderman was around at that time, but that whole theory about it being a tulpa hadn't quite taken grasp yet. And so I think this dude's story is just a little bit more credible, and it wasn't written like a story. So I tend to lean a little bit more towards it being true. But what it was so his wife was a new author, and she had written this book, and I can't remember exactly what it was about, but it was about a whole bunch of girls, and they had all committed suicide for some reason or another. It was a fictional story. And she got it published, and it was actually doing very well, and she finally convinced her husband to read it. Well, he said he was a self-confessed slow reader. He had a hard time taking in information, so he was taking a very long time on it, but he was enjoying it. And he was about halfway through the book, and one of the characters, I don't remember what the name of the character was, but it was one of the older girls in the book. He was not reading the book. He was in his kitchen, and I think he looked out his back window because he could hear somebody banging the door on his shed. He thought maybe the wind had caught it. And he looks out the window, and here's this girl from head to toe, the same exact girl that was out of this book, standing facing away from him with his shed door, opening it and closing it purposefully, like slamming it. And she never turned around and looked at him, just slam, slam, slam. And he was just like, why is this girl? It hadn't even occurred to him yet that this was this character. He goes running out his back door. And by the time he makes it, because he has to lose sight of her to make it to the door, by the time he gets the door open, she's vanished, and he runs everywhere. There was no place for her to go that fast. She's not there anymore. And he stopped to think about it. And he said he just got cold chills because he realized that was the girl out of his wife's book that he'd been reading about for like a month, all the way down to the clothing. Wow. So, and he was like, what did I see? Did I see a tulpa? Did I accidentally create my wife's character that I was so into?
You know what that makes me think of? Think of every scary ass movie you've watched really late at night. And when you turn it off, you hear bumps, you hear, you know, it's just on the other side of the door. You're not like projecting that yourself, are you? Making those noises, or you
may very well could be.
Great.
My question about that story was, what if the wife created the tulpa and the man just tapped into it because he knew her so well?
She projected
was able to see her tulpa. Maybe that was, how she wrote her book. That was her muse.
Yes.
And he tapped into it because they're really close, and he was reading stuff out of his wife's mind, and they just meshed.
Well, from what I understand, from what I read, a single person can create more than one tulpa. So as a muse, that makes sense. If you're going to have different characters, if you're going to have different complete storylines.
Well, it makes sense. One of my favorite quotes about writing is, writer's block is when my imaginary friends stop talking to me.
Mm-hmm. Hey, there you go.
So I totally get that.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the book series Inkheart.
You're right. Oh my gosh.
Have you guys ever read Inkheart?
I read the first one.
Cornelius Funk.
Yeah, it was written for younger children and teens, but it's worth so much more than that. I consider it a literary classic. Like, it should be shelved with like Peter Pan and Arthur and the Knights. I mean, it should be up there with the classics. If you get a chance to read it, Phil, do it, because you'll be amazed. But the storyline is that in this world, there are people who can read books and speak characters to life. and the book follows one of them, and he actually goes into the world of the book that he's reading. The storyline is that every time you read someone out of a book, someone in your world goes in, and he loses his wife on accident into this booking cart, and he goes in after her. And it's just, it's one of the best. I think Raven and I've read it. I read it to her the first time when she was very little, and I think we've read that 4 or 5 times over the whole series. It's just really fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking like Harry Potter, little kids, or anything like that. This is just a fantastic. I don't even think it has a category, the kind of story it is. So that's the one I always recommend to everybody. Like when they're looking for new books for their kids, I'm like, get freaking Inkheart. But yeah, that's kind of where that reminds me of, like reading things out of books.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're totally right.
Didn't they make a movie out of that?
They did. Brendan Fraser did.
Yeah, I saw that one.
It wasn't as good as the books. And in fact, Brendan Fraser.
Good for a Brendan Fraser movie, though.
Well, Brendan Fraser didn't even like it. He was the one that had it made because his kids loved that book so much, and he thought it was so fantastic. And instead of making it into a 3-part series, is what it should have been, a 3-movie deal, because there's that many books. Actually, it should have been more than that. Whoever they had write it condensed not even a good portion of it, the first book and half of the second book, into one movie. And the way they ended it, it made sure that you couldn't continue on. Oh, wow. And it ticked him off. And don't pay attention to the movie. The movie's not great.
Yeah.
The books are fantastic.
That's usually the case.
Hollywood can screw up any good story.
Yep.
It really can. They're good at it. We should probably go back to Tulpas, huh?
We should.
I thought we were.
We kind of were.
Okay. Kind of.
I've been searching while we were talking too. It was Aaron O'Connell, and it was a TED Talk that was given June 1st, 2011.
Oh, there you go.
Found it. Yay.
Yeah, I was gonna share the website and all that about they've got several websites devoted to creating tulpas, and I thought the better of it. I got to think. I was like, no, I don't want to encourage people
to do that. I don't.
I would not.
Frankly, in my opinion,
all the tulpa mancers.
In my opinion, like the tulpa mancers and all of that stuff, I think even if you got into it heavy, like you did it correctly and you truly meditated and did what they asked, I'm guessing 95% of the time, you're just going to end up with a delusional mess. It's not going to be a real tulpa. It's going to be some kind of weirdo thing you've created in your mind, and you've made yourself a little bit psychotic because of it.
Yep.
You can get into your own head and screw yourself up royal, so don't do it.
Yeah. Or you're going to accidentally invite something in that you do not want to be a part of.
Exactly.
You'll get,
and you're not going to be able to get rid of it.
Some fey creature or whatever.
Exactly.
Yep.
Y'all know that's where I usually end up going, but yeah.
It may very well be where, like, I'm not a believer in demons per se, like Catholic demons per se, but it very well could be where some possessions have taken place. Because they've invited that tulpa in, and it has decided to become sentient completely and take over.
Yeah.
I was thinking
demons and devil aside.
What about Jinn? They're, tricksters and whatnot.
100%.
This guy is trying to dream up a tulpa.
All these websites out there that are like, build your own tulpa, do this, it'll be great. Is that just a Jinn that's like, hey, we're fishing here. Anybody going to bite? That could be.
We would love to lead you down the path of self-ruin.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They live for it. A lot of them live for it.
I saw no less than 20 or 30 videos on YouTube about creating your own tulpa, from 5 minutes to an hour.
There are so many
Mhm.
books and documents
it's-
online. It's
Oh
scary.
God. The best one I found was from a wikihow.com.
Oh,
Right.
Lord.
Because that's the one I want to follow if I'm going to do this. Let me really get in deep with the WikiHow. It'll teach me how to properly do this. Oh my God. It's akin to people messing around with Ouija boards.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
You
it
don't know what
seems
you're going to get. Doesn't matter how much you think you know.
it's like playing Russian roulette with in the spirit world.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anything
I mean,
could be just zipping by, and
how bad some of these
nice.
accidental ones are. What happens when you put that much energy into one on purpose? I know you're trying to make it positive, but if you're giving all your positive energy to that, you're going to turn negative. Or if you're trying to get rid of your negative energy, it's going to be evil, and then you're going to have this evil voice in your head all the time.
Right.
It could happen.
Yeah, it really could.
Maybe that's where multiple personality people come from. They've accidentally created all these tulpas.
Could be.
Well,
Very well
yeah.
could be.
some of them could be, although I think most of those are really caused by genuine trauma and the subconscious.
Well,
I
that's what
mean,
I'm saying.
that's
So,
what
like,
it is.
it could be caused by trauma. Like, instead of externally working through everything like you should be, you're internally working through everything, and you're sitting here and creating these other personalities to cope with different situations. And they've done it for so long, they've created their own tulpas.
Yeah.
mean,
You're right,
Caleb said
Caleb.
that's
It is
very funny.
terrifying.
the similarities are there.
Yeah. It's like I said, tulpas work on so many levels with so many different theories. It's one of those ones that I put to the forefront when I think what's true, what's kind of true, what probably isn't true. Tulpas are at the front for me because they really fit so many different theories and styles and even science, like I said, through
I've
quantum
Blamed a lot of
theory.
paranormal phenomenon on Tulpa. I mean, over the show. Uh, you know, as my understanding of Tulpa is created by a mass of people believing in something. Um, so yeah, I mean, it
So, I
is
mean-
one of my go-to explanations.
I would agree with that. I mean, but if you look at Slender Man, he started off as wasn't it like around
Creepypasta,
Halloween
wasn't
or
it?
something? And it was a creepy pasta, but somebody
Yeah, it
wrote
was
it around Halloween or something like that. And he became popular. So then you have the little girls here shortly after, he was created saying that Slender Man told me to kill this other kid or whatever.
Right.
And I don't remember exactly how the story went, but I do know they stabbed this other girl like several times trying to kill. I don't remember if she died or not, but
I think she did.
But I mean, I think that would maybe be more of a case of something negative attaching itself
To the image, yeah.
Yeah.
Slender Man's been around for a long time too,
Right.
honestly. Eric, he was Slender Man, I think, in 6th grade, and he's 22 now. So, it was pretty popular then. So it had been around quite a while before then.
We need some horns. We need some horns, like Viking horns or something. Because joining us right now is Big Willie, man. Welcome, brother.
Awesome.
My fiend.
Hi.
What's shaking?
Welcome back,
Long
man. I
time
haven't seen
no
you
see.
forever.
I know. It's been a long time. I'm still not completely set up. I'm still trying to get the audio right here in the lighting because it's very different. Then I was in this like little covey, and now I got a whole room,
Sweet.
and it's making a difference. So we'll get there though.
Sweet. Nice, man. Sound
Oh,
good.
just right. There we go. All right. See, I gotta get this whole thing changed out. I still got the green screen back there. Gotta get that changed out. But yeah. I just figured by the way, is the mic okay, Phil? Hate to do a live test while we're doing live. It's like a
you're
big
good, man.
no.
You sound good.
But the guests that do that, they come in, how's the mic? Does the mic sound good today, guys? And like, oh my gosh, this is not a sound test. Turn it down, turn myself down a little bit. Here we go. Okay.
Will, have you met Pam?
Not like this. No, I have
No.
definitely seen and been in the
Nice to
chat, but
meet
I've
you.
not. So nice to
Yeah.
meet you, Pam.
You too.
Yep. It was. I was curious because I know you guys were talking about the tulpas, obviously, and it really got me thinking about, even though, okay, so the idea and the concept being that we produce these things through our own thoughts, right? Like the consciousness. So there's been those that have starting to hypothesize that perhaps even the known universe came from thought. I'm not disregarding God or anything like that, but that's where it gets convoluted, and there's like three parties to that. Some people believe that maybe consciousness was God or we were God. It could be very broad. But anyways, the point being, there's this Oak Ridge National Laboratory. I don't know if you guys have ever looked them up or not before.
Yes, we've talked about it on the show before.
I'm telling you, I feel like, because if a tulpa comes from just our basically imagination, right? Not saying it is an imagination, but if we can think it, then it appears. That gets very broad, I feel like. But it's also kind of weird that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Jess or Pam, but have some of the tulpas been like, historically the same as we would with, say, our Bigfoot encounters or a classic gray encounter? Have the tulpas been a little bit similar, or is it very broad?
It depends on who you're talking to. They're very broad, but when like you're talking about like Hat Man, a lot of people think that Hat Man's a tulpa. I don't personally. I think it's its own thing. I think true tulpas are actually very wide and varied.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think, Pam?
Honestly, the more I research this, the less I feel like I know about it, because they run the gamut. They, they're obviously mind constructs, right? But are they a split of your consciousness? Are they a split of your soul? And like Jess was pointing out early, it's such a fascinating idea. If maybe it is a split of the soul, maybe that is what turns into a ghost. Yeah, it could end up being something along the lines of Bigfoot, or a creature that we don't know a lot about, a ghost, because that very well could be it.
Caleb said it seems like they could basically be whatever you could imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that lends itself to the muse theory. And we've talked about that before, where the muses were there to attach artistic types to their to basically another world, that everything that an artist comes up with actually exists in another world, and everything that a writer writes about is actually something that is existing in another parallel universe. Mm-hmm. So it's bringing this all over. So you could say, hypothetically speaking, like that woman who wrote that about that girl who committed suicide and then her husband saw her later. Did she write her into our universe accidentally? Did she open up a spot where those worlds touched and she got a chance to come through? So you could think of it that way. Is it muse based? Are these things coming across where they actually exist in other places, and they exist now in ours because they were written about, or they were made artistically, or something to that matter? So that's another whole way you could go about it.
That's interesting.
On that note, on that line of thought, could these, all these novels and the stories that people are creating, could it be a download?
It could be.
From another dimension?
It could be. That's what I'm saying, like maybe, because of course, not everything we would write and not everything we would dream up and not everything we would make an art piece out of would come across, because then we would just be inundated with a surreal amount of crap.
Right.
But what if the timing was right, the ingredients were right at that moment, that when that was brought into being, that it opened up a spot between whichever world they were from and ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so like Slenderman. So if that dude wrote Slenderman into being on accident and he is just that nasty thing, but he's not here all the time, it's because he can slip back into his own line again. Maybe when he gets really popular here again and a lot of people are thinking about him, like close to Halloween time, that thins again and he slips back through.
Almost like he
Okay.
hears the call, or
Maybe he's unwillingly getting pulled through.
And maybe that's
Yeah.
that could explain
Just a
it.
thought.
Yep.
Well, then
Sonny
we
said
get
this is
back
good
into
stuff, guys.
quantum mechanics and quantum theory because, they've proved that, basically proved that faster than light communication is possible.
Yes.
So, what if our consciousnesses, whenever we create these tulpas, we're actually just pulling something in from one of our other selves in another universe?
Very well could be.
What if
What's going on, Enzo?
what if I create a tulpa to do all my work and I'm just enslaving myself from another universe?
Yeah, don't do that because then you become an NPC, and we don't want that to happen.
Well, I've met several.
So do you guys think that what if all time exists, right, simultaneously, if I'm not mistaken, right, if it's all here at the same time and there's just whatever this filter is that's keeping us from seeing it, would that explain a little bit more when people have, say, an ayahuasca trip or something of that nature, and then the veil's pulled back a little bit and all of a sudden they're seeing these things that sound crazy to say, but also people that are not having those trips have seen those same images at the same time? Do you think there's any sort of link to that?
There very well could be. Like Mark said, it wasn't even a month ago. There was 3 gentlemen that just won the Nobel Prize for some quantum physics that they worked on. Gosh, was it 20 years ago now?
20 years ago,
And
yeah.
it's just coming to fruition. It's just people are realizing they're not crazy, basically. That the speed of light is not the fastest thing. That one thing could be thought of here and be across the universe simultaneously.
Right.
There is no speed of light to beat. So yeah, why not? Absolutely, I would think it could be a possibility.
I think if one person could open some sort of a portal, that anyone around who was open enough to it would also partake.
Phil, you said earlier something, could it be a download? That has been a theory that I've heard, is that maybe like mediums and psychics, basically everything, if you think about it, all of consciousness being in a cloud, they just happen to have the connections, just straight to it, that they can download stuff faster than the average Joe can. Possible.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, when you think about, we get into some crazy into.
Have you guys heard about core theory when it comes to Tulpa?
No, I did not run into that.
So in core theory, actually a whole bunch of people got together to create this. And they've actually used Slenderman as their kind of basis for their experiment. They posit that if enough people can get together with the hive mind and create something like Slenderman, or bring something like Slenderman into our world, that we could do the opposite too. That if enough of us got together, we could exile it or wish it out of being.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. I mean, if it takes multiple people to create, why couldn't it?
Yeah, so think about it this way. This is where I think it's really exciting. But beyond that, so if that, hypothetically saying, if that would work in that situation, would that work for other things? Could we close portals? Could we unwish things? We know prayer works. Can we Can we
That's
undo it if we all
exactly
wish it?
You know,
mean-
prayer is the same thing as positive energy being put out there in the universe.
Right.
You get enough of it going together, you know, energy is palpable. It's you direct it in the right place, and enough minds are doing the same thing at the same time, you can affect change.
Right. I do
Yeah,
believe
so
that.
is-
I mean,
is-
I mean, I think it would. I think it would work both ways. I guess it would be. I don't know. My guess would be it would be the intent behind it.
Yeah.
Mhm. So
You know,
like
if you-
I was
if you were-
kind of I was just going to
No, go ahead,
say
sorry.
if that works. So is that how we've lost some of our old hauntings? Hauntings that used to be famous or very popular in areas have waned, and then suddenly those places aren't really haunted anymore. People go in there like, I feel fine or whatever. Have we wished them out of being solely from the fact that we don't pay attention to it anymore?
You don't
I
give it
think that-
energy, anything will die if you don't give it
Right.
what
Yeah.
it needs. to
That would be that was I was going to say as well, Pam. I mean, I think if people are ignoring it, you know, you're withdrawing the energy from it.
Mhm.
I mean, and I mean,
So
and that
yeah.
to me would point towards a tulpa.
Yes, and then the
But-
stuff that I read about tulpas, if you don't feed them, basically give them your energy or your attention or, you know, whatever, they will, you know, they'll dissipate.
So you can kill a tulpa.
You can kill a tulpa, yeah.
All right. Now, I'm
You
not
can wither it
trying.
down to nothing, basically.
I'm not trying to downplay anybody's beliefs, so I'll rephrase that. So you guys have all heard the theories where all these ancient pantheons, they got their
Wait,
gods.
hang
got-
on, time out. That
Very
word is
good.
too big for me. We've got to define that word. And there might be somebody else like me out there. So for them, you know, and me, what it was pythons mean.
Pantheon. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna move on.
Think about it, though. I mean, seriously, Neil Gaiman, look at the American Gods series, not the terrible, horrible TV remake of it, but the book. You know,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. The old gods aren't paid attention to, so they're, you know, they're
If they get
losing their
power
power.
from people believing in them, what happens to them when people stop?
Right.
They become
So-
ineffective.
Hey, y'all, I'll be right back.
Or did we, or were the ancient gods something that humans dreamed into being and made real? According to my definition of a tulpa, where a lot of people thinking the same thing makes it real.
Mhm.
Look at, I mean, in Greece, they built all the, well, in more than just Greece, even like Egypt, they had the, what are they called? Where
Pyramids?
they went and worshipped to the gods.
The temples?
Yes, thank you. Good Lord. Yeah, they had all the temples built. They had a place dedicated to that specific god where all people came. They left offerings, you know, they gave up prayers, they did all these things. And then if you look at the Mayan culture where they believe that there were blood sacrifices made, all these things are happening. All that energy, good or bad, is going towards the formation of, you know, this god or this higher
Mhm.
being.
Let's
You
call
know.
it the mental verse.
There you go.
The
Yeah.
mental verse.
So,
Trademark.
unpopular theory.
Oh boy.
Okay, here we go. I hope I don't get too much hate mail. So, what if religion and the gods and everything as we posit now were not here originally? It's something that's man-made and created, but they're real because we tulpa'd them here. Like Pam was speaking earlier, anytime anything happened that was extraordinary to us because we didn't understand science whatsoever, it was a god.
Yeah,
The gods hated me because they took away my harvest. The gods hated me because a fire ripped through my house. The thunder, the gods are against us. Or I had a great harvest. The god was shining favorably upon me. And
Yeah,
they created these worship centers. And they just, devotions. What if we created the gods or the god that supposedly now rules over us? We've given it this power.
It's not it's not that far out. I mean, I've read science fiction stories where basically they worked off the assumption that humans created their own creator because they demanded to be created. I mean,
That seems like, have you guys ever read, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't tell what's going on with my audio, so I apologize if it's really bad, guys. There was a book called Biocentrism, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you guys have ever had the chance to read that one or look into it.
not, but
Writing it down.
Yeah, actually,
And we'll have it next
Jojo
week.
Bone. Jojo Bone was the first one. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's kind of dense and, there's a lot
this
to
is
it.
good.
But there we go. I don't know. But yeah, it's called biocentrism, and it posits the same concept, that this idea that essentially consciousness existed first, and it created this physical realm to exist in and operate in, and that we were a collective consciousness that basically has forgotten that essentially that we were the gods or God.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Kind of unique. It's
Actually, it makes sense because, like we were talking earlier, if you have the big cloud where all of our consciousness is collectively, there you go. That would kind of
that's a good
go along
point.
go along that same line.
And I was looking into this when we were doing research for NDEs,
Oh,
near
okay.
death episodes, and that would be the whole heaven and hell thing. Would be the collective consciousness, and then the people who end up as ghosts are the ones who, got trapped, or like we were talking about earlier, created tulpas of themselves that hung around after they left. So
Is that me?
it's actually been a fairly well explored science fiction and fantasy trope, if you will.
Enzo. Yeah. I love it. I can hear it.
So anyway,
Drinking mango
Okay.
nectar. Sorry, I just wanted to take
Mango
over.
nectar? Are you
Yeah,
sure
look
it's
at
not
this,
a
look at
Wait,
natty
wait.
light? Okay. I'm just checking, make sure it wasn't a natty light.
No.
I'm drinking Crown. Does that count?
Ooh,
Water.
gosh. My
Crown
favorite
sounds
to
better.
go with. Is that Captain Morgan over there? Oh my gosh. My favorite drink to sip on when telling stories or like doing podcast stuff is tea, like a raspberry tea with a tiny bit of French vanilla creamer in it.
Ooh.
That's my favorite.
Fancy.
Well, no, right?
Hey.
Gotta get snazzy with it.
Mark and I are talking about doing maybe next year like a Cinco de Mayo show where we're going to have tacos and drink margaritas on the show.
Tacos and margaritas
I'm
for
down
like
for
2 or
that.
3
You
hours.
gotta join us.
Heck yeah.
I propose the idea that could be an once a month Tuesday thing, and we just say it's honorary. We're building up too.
We've
Yeah.
missed out on so many. We haven't.
Exactly.
Yay!
Oh man.
You are welcome anytime, Enzo. Welcome anytime.
Oh man, Enzo drinks. Enzo, what's his go-to drink? Oh, not Bullet.
Chris is tequila.
Enzo, I should know this. He has.
Yeah, he
not-
showed us one time on
Well, he's always got very good ones. Maker's Mark and different ones and stuff. But I can't remember there's like go-to he has that he always has. Yeah. But anyways, I wonder if Tulpas ever drink. Oh yeah, it is Bullet Bourbon. I was right. Sorry, I didn't know if I was right or not.
I've got to try that.
I mean, I really wonder why. Okay, what about this though? I know it's not exactly Tulpas, and maybe you ladies can let me know. Maybe this does happen on Tulpas too. But do you know how Do you know
My
how?
wife said he has to drink whiskey to deal with my crazy ass. Sorry, Willie. I had to throw that.
No, I just. So do tulpas ever seem surprised like ghosts? You ever know? You ever hear in the encounters in the stories where the ghosts sometimes seem just as surprised as the person?
Not as far as I've ever heard.
No, that's not anything I've heard. But
As far as tulpas or the like an apparition being surprised.
Tulpas.
Okay.
I've heard of
I've heard of
apparitions being
apparitions.
surprised.
Yeah, because
Right.
they seem just as
Right.
confused sometimes.
It's like,
The-
like what I like to think of sometimes, and maybe not all ghosts, but I think some of them, they just happen to be in a spot where the veil is thin, you know. And like if you happen to look across the room and you see somebody standing there and you're like, oh crap, and they're like, oh crap, you know, maybe in their dimension or wherever they are, they're seeing a ghost and it just happens to be you, and it's just because the veil is so thin right there.
yeah, I,
Then
maybe
again,
you're
though-
that happens. That in time.
There's actually
Yeah, that's what I was
back in the old days of when ghost hunters first came out, they're in some castle that's now a hotel or something like that, and they're in a room and you can hear the guys and they're doing EVP work, and they're like, we can hear you, can you hear us? And you hear a woman plainly say, I can hear you, can you hear me? So it's like she's experiencing these disembodied voice at the same time the guys are, you know, but it's just they have to be either in the same room in a different dimension or a different time. Something happened to where they both had that experience on opposite ends. But it was pretty fascinating.
Right. You know, Enzo, he just said pretty much the same thing. He said he's heard of spirits being surprised before. That always struck me as more of a time slip or dimensional peak rather than a traditional
Yes,
funk.
but-
Yeah, we've talked about that for a long time
Yeah.
amongst
Yeah.
ourselves.
But I've
Mhm.
never heard of a tulpa, or you know,
No.
well, and tulpa is a vague term for a lot of people. A lot of people don't even know what a tulpa is. So, you know, who knows? Maybe it has happened, but I
We
I
were
haven't
talking
heard
about earlier, you know, the possibility of when you're a young child and you see a ghost, you know, and then when you're older, you see a small child's ghost and you realize, wait a minute, that's me. I'm the ghost that myself as a child saw. Is that a tulpa? I mean, is that a split of the soul, you know, where you're in a different dimension or a different space to be able to see yourself? I don't
Or is it
know.
a time slip?
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who knows?
I could drive myself crazy trying to think some of this stuff up. I mean,
That's
trying
the
to straighten
great
it out
part
in
of
my head.
all of this.
I know it.
There's
It is, and I don't
never
really have
ending
far to drive to
fodder.
be crazy, and it's in reverse. Not gonna lie.
I just wonder. I often wonder if the tulpas and the different multi-dimensional beings get together and have a show like this. Like, you guys hear about these humans? Just start going over what.
Yeah.
They're
How are we going to
probably-
mess with them this week?
Yeah, they're probably dialing
gosh.
in. Oh my God!
You've
listen
seen
to
that
this
handsome one with a
now. Oh my
beard.
goodness.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. He had your
I'd take
back.
my hat off, but I'd blind everybody.
I feel that. I feel it.
Enzo said it is a mind twister when you start dipping a toe in the quantum foam. Absolutely.
It
Because
is.
you know where
what?
it's gonna go.
I might have to steal that.
That's a good line, man.
I might have to steal that. That's. Thank you, Enzo. Thank
When
you.
it comes
just-
to quantum physics, I know just enough to know I don't know anything.
I know enough to get in trouble with it.
I know enough.
And
to
so
know
do
I
our
don't.
scientists.
Right.
I do not have the mind for it.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like Enzo said, it's a mind twister. I mean, there's so much to try to wrap your mind around. And even Mark's point, I mean, the scientists still don't know. I mean,
No, they don't.
But I
Yeah.
think as time goes on, I think it's going to open back up or open up to realize, hey, these different timelines exist. I mean, look at Frank Jacob, Mark. I mean, I don't know if you guys listen to those shows or not with Frank talking about A Tale of Two Timelines. Things like that, Project Looking Glass. If you haven't looked into that, I mean, that's all tied in, where it goes more along the conspiracy route. But again, I think it's all kind of one and the same.
It's all connected. We've talked. I mean,
It is.
we've
Yeah.
said it a
It took my
billion
time
times.
working me to it.
Somehow it is all connected, and we have no idea how.
Right.
Thanks, buddy.
And speaking of Frank, did you? This is kind of off subject, but Frank got canceled in Germany. He's
Oh,
been on
shit.
speaking tours since last summer. For that last several months, the German officials shut him down. Will not let him go anywhere and speak
Wow.
because he's speaking a lot of the whole timeline shifts and positive thinking. Not necessarily that, but thinking of a different ending. A good timeline along the same lines of what we're talking about. The manifestation and all that thing. I want to talk about this because I think the way I look at it, because we got hit on YouTube about our transhumanism show, and Frank's a big speaker on transhumanism as well, and they cut him. They canceled him, and we got shut down on YouTube. We got our first warning on YouTube for our transhumanism episode.
I expect
And
another one.
They
coming.
deleted it. Oh yeah,
You've hit the
absolutely.
big time, baby.
Yes, we got our first troll.
Oh yes, you did.
Yep.
Oh
So,
man,
Yeah, absolutely.
I came in
Poor
right
Phil
at the end
will
of that
never
one.
recover from that one.
I didn't fully
that
see
was
what had happened, so
pretty
I'd come in at the end just where he kept bringing it back up. I was like, I'm gonna go back and see what this was. I was like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
there it is.
Did your eyes bleed?
You can see us all are like, ew.
Yeah, we're all like, what
It
is
took a second.
What are we looking
I had a feeling when the guy when the guy was like, I gotta find something, and he had an old man's picture, and he sounded like he was 15. I was like, something I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, Sarah, she nailed it. This ain't right. This ain't right.
Yep.
Bad vibes, bad vibes, bad vibes.
Exactly. I think that's a home run right there, Caleb. We said they don't want us shifting our reality to what we want. Absolutely. I mean, that's not
Gold
necessarily
star.
Tulpa, but I think it's related in some aspects with the manifestation and all that. And I know we've hit on it several times tonight, but it blows my mind the number of people that are trying to teach other people to manifest. In my mind, and if you listen to the What If Tomorrow podcast on Mondays, I've said many times, I believe we're in a spiritual war. And I'm not trying to take it down this route, but I think this is part of it.
Well, I mean, if you can manifest something in your own mind, what happens if millions of people try to manifest something in reality? I mean,
Right.
for good or ill.
Isn't that supposed to be what happened with the Atlantis people? Wasn't that part of the thing with them? Why they ended up failing? Supposedly, right? They got too caught up with like being the best and like the gods or whatever, and then that was their downfall. Or
That was Homer's.
Oh, okay.
Enzo said that is the conspiracy. Humans can manifest their own reality, and the system, quote unquote, is designed to dumb us down so as not to create whatever we want. Yes, man, you're a guy after our own hearts.
Maybe
was
we
actually-
should make him one of our co-hosts.
Absolutely.
I was
I
actually
mean,
kind of thinking about
He's
that.
got gold, man.
Yep.
So I was thinking about that actually. So if there's few of us, but we're really coming into our own now. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but 20 years ago, I didn't know of anybody of our ilk who was so deep into this stuff.
No,
That wasn't
me neither.
just absolutely ridiculousness because they were nuts. So what happened in 2012?
Yep.
But
Where's
what
that
does
to go?
CERN have to do with it? Why are we all waking up after 2012?
Because we all died
We
because the
shifted.
world ended.
Did somebody flip a switch on purpose to make it happen?
I mean, it
That's
could
a
be.
good. Enzo, you've been hanging around with the wrong ilk. You know, I think maybe. I think it was on purpose. Maybe it was somebody that knew people would wake up. And now look, now think about this. They fired it back up late June, early July.
And the world's
Look at the
gonna crap.
look at the number of people that have woken up in the last few months to what is going on. And around the world's on fire. And I mean, this really isn't for this show, but it's the truth. If you watch all the demonstrations, all the protests, and rightfully so, with the way the governments are trying to turn into a socialistic, fascistic society, and people are pushing back, which I love. But are they related? You know, there's somebody hitting that switch. Maybe it's a vibration coming off of it, waking these people up, or maybe I don't know. That's a good question, Jess. I don't know. I couldn't tell you for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, Philip, that 3D printed meat looked pretty good the other day.
At least it was all vegetable and not like vat grown crap. That's made in Israel, by the way. I did some research.
That's nasty.
Nice.
No, sir.
The
But
red comes from beetroot.
What other major event happening right in 2012 besides CERN though? Because even when they fired CERN back up,
Mayan calendar. In
Jess has got it.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Yeah, she's got a list. The one that
She has a
I
whole
always
notebook
bring up
Back to the
is the
year.
fact that- The one I always bring up is the fact that the Mayan calendar ended, and our group got together in 2012.
Well,
That was the catalyst.
You know, 'cause, yeah, that was it. That was
tip
see,
of
a
the
lot of
spear.
people were
It's-
thinking
it's
end of the
all
world
on
because
us.
end of the calendar, but it was the end of that age. But
that epoch or era.
yeah,
Yeah,
that era. But the Mayan culture didn't last long enough to create a calendar for this era. Well, they didn't need to. It's 500 years from now. We got time.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, Enzo, the number of notes she has is amazing.
Has notebooks and notebooks upon notebooks.
These girls are the research queens.
She
Yep.
has notebooks to index her notebooks. She does. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Did you see that crazy look in her eye when she looked back at the camera?
I mean, it looks weird on other people. I'm used to seeing that crazed look in my eyes.
I mean, do we think it was coincidence though? Like, we kind of all just let it go, and nobody really went deep on it. That when the day within less than 24 hours, I think it was 12 hours of CERN firing up, that the Georgia Guidestone's blown up. Like, we all just kind of let that go. Like, nobody talks about that at all anymore. It's a weird coincidence. Like, out of all the times that it's been attempted, because people tried before.
Right. Well,
This is a little strange.
You caught the show with Carrie Ann Fields when she was on, right?
Mm-hmm. From Australia, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I met her through Frank Jacobs' Facebook page,
Okay.
and she teaches astral projection, yoga, all sorts of spiritual stuff. And she made a comment to one of Frank's posts to where her and a group of spiritual warriors, I think that's what she called it, I'm not sure. She put that together, and they went in to try to stop CERN from opening up different dimensions, and that's what piqued my interest. And I enjoyed the heck out of talking. We need to get her back on, but she's been stupid busy too.
Astral projection is just fascinating.
It is.
And I think, going back to Tulpas, I think that's a lot of it. I mean, that's part of it too.
Well, is astral projection the reverse of making a tulpa? Instead of creating something inside, you're trying to project something outward.
I mean, there's people that
All right.
say, hanging out. Oh, yeah, let's get back to 2012.
Okay, so I'm not going to go over the whole list of everything that changed in 2012 suddenly in July, because we'll be here for 3 days.
Right.
But I pulled up everybody's favorite, and that's company logos that changed the summer of 2012.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So over 20 major companies suddenly changed their logos. That doesn't count the minor brands. which goes over 200. But
Wow.
I'll list the major brands. So we've got Domino's Pizza, JCPenney, Twitter, DC Comics, Microsoft, Wendy's, Universal, Arby's, Quaker Oats, Weight Watchers, USA Today, Stanford University, University of California, American Red Cross, Lifetime, Jaguar, eBay, Avis, Comcast, and Miller Genuine Draft.
Wow.
All changed within 2 months, right after the Collider kicked up.
Was that so? Is that a signal of a dimension shift?
No, they literally changed them.
Okay.
Like it was, we're changing our logo, but suddenly it was all across the board. And this is how it was in corporate America and across the world. Suddenly this summer became the summer of change. Cell phones changed. The way cell phones were made that year were completely changed. We suddenly had this influx of fantastic new technology that came out of the woodwork. The summer of 2012 was extraordinary and scary all at the same time. I have pages and pages and pages of things that happened just that summer.
All right. Well, there's another show. You're gonna have to come back on and just talk about 2012 because you really piqued my interest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
It's
let's
nuts.
just do it. Let's have a show.
That would be a good one.
Because I know you were on for Mandela Effect, and
Yeah.
we touched on 2012.
Never heard of that
Possibly
before.
being a catalyst. Yeah. Okay.
Show Will my
What?
my
Hello, what?
notebooks. All my tags,
Tabs. Nice.
She's very
and-
organized.
books.
We were
and-
joking.
I love my stuff.
I feel like I only ever have a notebook for like our D&D session because we go like a month in between, so I gotta have like a note thing that says what we talked about last time we were there.
Yeah.
Okay. Will, Mark and I have an idea for a show, maybe the end of a show, something like that.
Okay.
You got to be, and I told him you got to come on.
Okay.
We're gonna take down a list of like popular figures,
Okay.
right? Like in society,
Mhm.
and we're gonna determine whether
How they're aligned.
alignment is.
Alignment
like,
is in what?
Neutral
You know,
good,
like, well-
neutral evil.
Oh, okay.
like I told Mark, we know the president is neutral because turnips don't have alignment. So
Come on, man.
Vegetables seldom do.
Oh man.
Although rutabaga may be lawful evil.
I often
you gotta come on
wonder,
and do that with us.
like, did you ever think about the famous people that are famous but that stay out of the spotlight? You ever looking at them too much? Like, we have a couple that live around here in Michigan that, like, not too far from where I grew up for a long time. It was within like 45 minutes of us. I don't know if you guys know who Jeff Daniels is.
Uh-huh.
So he
Yeah.
lives in Chelsea, Michigan there, like the Purple Rose Theater and all that. Like he permanently made his house there to like avoid the whole LA scene. And it's kind of interesting to see different ones that did that and still managed to be somewhat, because there seems to be, I want to say it's not a cult like activity, but it's like if you're not in LA, you didn't get the jobs, you couldn't go for the interview. So it's unique when you see a certain actor or actress manage to live somewhere like Michigan and then still maintain a pretty decent career. Maybe not as popular as he used to be, but there was a time and a period,
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber and all that stuff. Yeah.
That's probably
He's smarter than anybody in Washington.
Anonymity now
Yep.
because that's like his big claim to fame is Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, that's true. And he made a couple other ones. Like he played in Gettysburg, I believe,
He
was
played
one of his earlier films. Yeah, he did a lot of stuff throughout the 80s.
Yeah, he did. And Jim Carrey, I mean, he's pretty much fell out of the spotlight now. He's more of an
Yeah,
artist.
but he went all wacky now.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's kind of whacked out now, but he's like doing art,
Pioneer
and
woman.
strange things.
Yeah, Kayla or my wife, my wife's grandparents. They live down in Pahuska, and they go to church with Pioneer Woman.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Garth Brooks lived in Tulsa for
Yeah.
him and his wife for years.
I think they
Trisha,
still live in like Owasso or something like that.
Yeah, they're
do they still? I thought they sold their place. Maybe not.
I don't know.
Did you guys ever get any
Right.
rain out there yet? By the way, I really feel
We
like
did. What,
Tiny bit.
Monday?
it's like
It settled
Just the last
dust
couple
of it all.
days. Yeah, finally we got a
Inch.
little bit.
Not near
Not
enough,
an inch.
but we got a little
No,
bit.
not near enough.
Mike and I missed it. We weren't even
now we're
here.
only 14 inches behind.
Yeah.
My son was driving between Manhattan and Salina, and he sent me a video of just this rolling dust clouds that were coming in
Crazy.
because we had a lot of wind over the weekend. And he was just like, it was like really
Yeah.
low visibility. It's crazy.
They said they had to shut down Dodge City
Wow.
because they had a
That's
huge dust storm roll in, and they just had to tell everybody to stay in their houses.
Man, that would suck with my house. My house is so drafty because it's old. You know, it's like 1885.
I see Philip with like wet rags trying to put them up on the different windows.
Yep.
Did
I look like
What up?
I look like what is it? The Book of Eli. You know, when they got glasses.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
okay. Don't laugh. I want to show you guys something because
Oh
I
no.
don't know if I
Wait
get
a
this. Has
minute.
been
Wait a minute.
I
Do
don't
need to
make
stretch this
promises.
first?
Get ready on the.
so.
We don't
First of
fall
all,
for that anymore.
first
Don't
of
make
all,
promises.
I don't even know if I can share this with audio. Like I'm trying to see how to properly do that because it's been a long time since I've done that. But let me see.
My wife said, "Hey, our air purifier says we have excellent quality air."
Awesome.
It's all that matters then, right?
Chris, bad vibes, bad vibes.
Dang it. I don't even think I need audio with it, even though I would rather have audio. All I can think of is this. This is a real thing that's it's been invented. So even though there's no audio, I'm just going to share the video, okay? Because
Okay.
Oh
We
no.
got caught by this last time, Willie. I'm trusting you, brother.
all right, here we go.
Oh, this was being shared
Do you
today.
know it? This thing. Okay, so all I can think of is because of the wind. This is a new invention they have instead of those big wind turbines. I mean, stop. Look at this.
Definitely bad vibes, bad vibes. Oh my gosh.
If you all want to, if you
Are they
guys
trying
are
to
listening,
compensate for something? I mean,
I'm pretty sure even without the audio, we could tell you what the audio sounded like.
It's just like elevator music too. Doesn't make it much better. Look at
if you guys
that.
want to know what the video is, if you're just listening, go to the UFO Garage podcast group and watch it over there.
What is this?
Alaska resident.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I just I don't know, just
Enzo, ladies and gentlemen, the Big Willie generator.
I can't with this. All right.
Enzo, you got to come on with us
That's
sometime,
funny.
man.
I actually sent him the link. I told him, I said, hop in and say hi before
Yeah, hop in, man.
everybody gets off.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to. Hop in.
Oh man, I've got to go get a munchkin butt in bed anyways. Who's fighting? She's awake. I can see her. This is the difference between being upstairs and downstairs now.
Standing there looking at you.
Well, just one. She's
Hey,
poor
there he
things like
is.
me. She's a night owl. There's
Hey,
Enzo.
Yay.
hey,
The
buddy.
name was spoken. I have been manifested.
All right, guys. I'm gonna head out.
Very own Tulpa.
Is it Tulpa?
Bye, Will.
All right,
Thank
Enzo.
you, Willie.
You
Thanks for
show
jumping
the
on,
Big
man.
Willie generator when you duck out. What is that?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I believe in the future, guys.
Hey, check out this. Bye.
All right, guys. I will talk to you later.
Take it
Bye.
easy, brother. Hey, Willie.
Yeah,
Hey, real quick, you going to Texas? You're still going to Texas, right?
I am not probably
Ah,
actually,
dang
which
it.
is really sad. I know. Are you going, Enzo?
No, I'm not going.
You're so much closer than I am. It's like a 24-hour plane ride for
I'm
me.
not going now. Screw that.
Yeah, it's true. Put those over here. All right,
That's
guys.
not how
Pam,
you get to 1.21 gigawatts.
It was nice meeting you, by the way, Pam. Jess, it's always good seeing you. Mark and Phil.
I see you too.
Enzo,
you, brother.
you guys have a good one, okay?
Bye.
Bye.
Real quick, I know you and I have met Enzo. We met over on Paranormal Chop Shop.
Mhm.
And you haven't met my co-host Mark and our most of the time co-host Pam and Jess.
Hello,
Nice to meet you.
Man, glad to see you.
Pay
on
no
here.
attention. I'm just a mystery person from the chats. I'm of no importance whatsoever.
No, you've had some gold going on in the chat.
Yeah,
tonight.
man.
I mean,
Been sharing some good stuff.
Yeah, that's something you don't normally see during a YouTube presentation as hecklers. It's
Hey, I'm all for it.
you got to
man.
bring.
there's nothing wrong with a good heckle.
I saw whiskey being poured. It's like, all right, I'm coming.
Our
Yeah,
people.
try again.
Pour some of that right now. So I need to catch up. Apparently,
I like to drink a
Yeah.
little heavier when we're talking about the news on our news and preparedness show.
Yeah. The other show, we think it gets a little deeper. That's not near as
hold
fun,
on.
but
but yeah, this is it is a pretty interesting topic though. When you start getting into to things like this, it really does bring up, like one of the things I said earlier in the chat is that there's this kind of the underground belief that you manifest your own reality, kind of an idea that
and I do believe
there's
that.
been books written about it. You know, the Secret that was really popular,
Right.
which was basically and they kind of masked it a little bit by through the power of positive thinking.
Right.
You can achieve those goals of being successful and making the millions and getting the girl and the yacht and the things, but it's still the same idea at its root.
It's so interesting you bring up that book, The Secret. I just heard this the other day and I had no idea, but there was a book written called The Science Behind the Secret. And Travis Taylor actually authored that, which Travis,
wow.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Did he shoot a rocket through it?
I don't know. Did he get radiation from it? I don't know.
I don't know. It seems to be his thing. He was on that rocket engineering show where they shot a lot of rockets in the sky.
Yes, in Skinwalker Ranch fame, and now
Yeah,
he's
they're big on that there too.
on the big UFO committee.
July, that's for sure.
Yes,
that's pretty interesting. I didn't know. I hadn't heard of that. What was it called again?
It's called The Science Behind the Secret. I just saw that the other day, and I had not heard that before. But he's kind of got his fingers in everything,
That is interesting.
Well, that's how you succeed. Really, is by diversifying.
Yeah.
Yes, and by honestly, there's a little belief in yourself and your own abilities, and your ability to succeed can take you a very long way. Almost every like lone survival tale, it's more of a battle of wits than just a battle of the elements. You have to know you need that goal. I need to get back home to see my family or whatever it is. You set up those goals, you aim for to achieve it through whatever means. It's the same idea for success at kind of anything.
I don't know if you're familiar with our other show, the What If Tomorrow podcast. We cover a lot of like preparedness and the news and how to get through all that. But that's the biggest key is your mindset.
Exactly.
And I would agree. I mean, and through everything, but especially a survival situation or something like that. Absolutely.
Not to be commercial, but this is a good time to plug our sponsor, Conflicted the Game.
Conflicted the Game.
If you don't watch any other episode that we've done, watch where we're playing Conflicted the Game with the audience.
That was really fun.
Because it makes you really think about what would I do? What am I willing to do to survive? It challenges your beliefs. It challenges your morality. So, I mean, and it was fun too, because, it makes you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I surprised myself with some of my answers.
Yeah,
Is it
you
one of those
surprised me
things
for sure.
Is it one of those games when you answer honestly, people look at you differently afterwards? It's like,
Well, you know what?
Kind of.
I've got some decks right here. I'll just read you a. Well, let me get the first deck real quick, just to kind of give you an idea of what it is. It's all survival scenarios, things like that.
Mhm.
And again, this really isn't for this show, but that's okay. It says here's one. It says you've been approached by a post-apocalyptic community which is very well known and respected, and they have invited you to join them. Food, water, and comfort awaits you and your family. However, there is only room for you and your family. Your buddies and their families depend on you and your skills, but the life you all live now is full of every kind of struggle. Would you join the community for the sake of your family and leave your buddies, or would you stay with your friends and continue to make your family suffer? Why?
That's a tough one. I'd have to know a few more details. But,
Right.
My gut reaction would be, well, if they're making it, we can make it too, and
Right.
we'll forge our own path, and we'll be allies when we've gotten to your level, I guess, at some point.
Right. But that's the gist of the game. It is really the challenge you're thinking. It's definitely a lot of fun.
I've always considered myself sort of like half a prepper kind of thing. I mean, I would certainly love to have a bunker out in the middle of nowhere with, the underground shelter and
Absolutely.
all that. I can't manifest that kind of money. That's for sure.
Right.
No, that's a whole new show. Can we Tulpa real cash?
That's it.
Right.
Lottery numbers, at least you can hide behind that.
Yeah,
I know
there you go. There you go.
Which
Now
I don't
we're
think that
cooking
would
with
work.
gas
either.
right there.
But it is one of the, for me, I've always looked at it as because I was in the Air Force for 24 years, retired. That I live near Wichita. I heard someone mention Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, you're only a couple hours
Cool.
from us, man.
Yeah, I'm just up the road.
Yeah, we live down by Independence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I retired here because there's an Air Force base right here. That I retired back in the end of 2009, and before I did, I made sure I had like all my bills covered, kind of a thing. It's because I'm not rich, but I have no debt. I don't have a house payment. My place is paid off. No car payment. No, ex-wife payment. No, none of these things that can end up being a burden on you throughout your life. I don't owe anyone anything. So what money I do make, which isn't that much, I only make like $30-some thousand a year off of my retirement, but it's all mine. I have regular bills, of course, they're the same ones that everyone has. You got your phone bill and your whatever streaming services and blah blah blah. But it is just kind of, I've always kind of looked at, it's really important to have that independence to do what you want to do. And I've always gone through that with that kind of a mindset, to include having plenty of supplies, because where you live, where I live, tornadoes are a thing.
Yep.
They can come and wipe out the whole town and knock power out for weeks, if not months at a time. That's a realistic threat to where we live. And no matter where you live, there's always some kind of natural disaster to where everyone should be a prepper to a certain point. I feel a lot of people that would laugh at these kind of things a couple of years ago when everything shut down. We're like, oh,
Right.
those guys were kind of right.
Yeah.
We
so
were.
Yeah.
Just having a minimum 2 weeks worth of food in your house at all times. That kind of a thing is like bare at minimum.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's hear a little bit about you. I mean, I don't know a lot about you. Like I said, I know we've met through the Paranormal Chop Shop. We've been on a couple episodes together and all that. What is your show and all that about?
I actually don't have a show. I just mooch off of my friends. I just
hang out. Okay, that's
cool.
cool.
Exactly how I ended up here tonight. I'm a Weisenheimer and say half smart things in the chat. And someone throws me a link, and I throw on a Hawaiian shirt from the clearance rack and come on with some crazy background and
Well, it's very stylish. It is.
It is. It goes well with the creepy woods that's behind me here. So
Yeah.
it doesn't.
It goes with our theme tonight.
That's
I
right.
know. I saw it. That's why I picked this. I was like, all right, we're gonna go with the walking. I'm floating through the woods in my Professor X.
Heck yeah.
But,
See, Sonny's sticking up for you, man. He said he's part of the Paranormal Chop Shop. Heck yeah.
yep,
There you
I
go.
put in
You
a
belong.
few appearances there on occasion. I've answered a few distress calls when somebody's working late or something like that, and kind of
Right.
pop on. I've always been interested, like in the paranormal and things like that. When I was a little kid, I saw weird light in the sky. What is that?
Nice.
I guess it's a UFO, and it was one of those things. It's like I'm trying to tell my sister, it's like there's this thing. I think it might be a UFO, but I knew if I took my eyes off of it, it's going to disappear.
Right.
And I'm like trying to get my sister to look over, who was like just like in the garage and couldn't see. It's like, oh, really? Come here. It's right there. It's right there. It's like, nah. Little sisters doing what little sisters do. And because I was like 10, my sister was like 8, so it was like, no, it's right. Can you get out here? Because it's gone. The second you look away, I grew up in Eastern Kentucky. We had a big steel mill there, and there was this giant, like train car size light kind of floating over the steel mill, kind of a thing, like welder bright white, kind of a deal. And then that got me interested in things, and living in Eastern Kentucky, what was considered a regional history at my local school library was the Mothman prophecy.
Sweet.
That's only like an hour. Point Pleasant's only like an hour and a half away.
Nice.
So I read up on that. So that started my deep dive into strangeness early on.
Cool.
But saw Black Triangle back in the 90s. No lights, no sound, no anything. It was over Wichita, actually. It was passing over the center part of Wichita, and I could only see it because of the city lights were kind of lighting up the bottom of it, this flat black on a black background at night. But as it was moving over, it was covering stars behind it, because I'm an amateur at best, astronomer kind of a thing. I enjoy going out and look at the stars kind of a thing. And that's how I knew it was something that was real in the sky, that there was something physical up there, but just no explanation for it. I was an aircraft mechanic the entire time I was in the Air Force. So I saw planes every day, inside and out. Nothing. I'd never seen anything like that.
Right.
So,
that's kind of my background as well. I worked on F-18s in the Marine Corps, and now I work for.
nice.
I don't want to say their name, but you live in Wichita, so you have a good idea who we work for down here.
Sure. Yeah, I was a KC-135 crew chief for 24 years. So
let me ask you a question.
Old airframe.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. We used to work with a guy. His name was Eugene Turner. Do you by chance know him? He retired. He was reserves for a while.
Mm-mm.
I think he said he went through KC-135s and F-16s while they were up there, then B-1s or something like that. I don't remember, but
he did all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, super great guy.
I didn't know him, but because I was active duty there, and they when I first I arrived here in Wichita the day after O.J. Simpson did the low speed chase in the white Ford Bronco. I don't know why, but that particular point in space time, everybody remembers what they were doing. Every screen, every TV show, every computer. We're watching this live. O.J. Simpson driving around with this parade of police cars slowly driving around L.A. I don't know why that particular thing, but everybody knows exactly what they were doing.
Yep.
Because it's not like, 9/11 or the space shuttle blowing up or any of these like catastrophic, horrific things. O.J. Simpson driving around in the white Ford Bronco. It's one of those weird things everyone knows. So I've been here for a while, and that was what, 94?
That had to be, because
because that's I had my accident in 94, and it was right around the same time.
Yeah. So
I
I've been
grew
here
up over there. So
yeah. because I've been around here since then. A lot of the time I was on the road though, but
Yeah.
most of the I still don't understand a lot of 80s and 90s references, like social things, like talk about TV shows or movies or something like that. I was like, I don't know what that is. Did that happen in the 90s? Yeah, I was busy. That kind of thing. I travel a lot, but yeah, that's kind of my thing. And late last year, actually about this time, about a year ago, I got interested, like everyone else that was getting tired of being locked up, just finding something for entertainment, snooping around on YouTube and finding different YouTube channels that deal with these kind of things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And started hanging out in the chat, and one thing leads to another. I decide I'm going to build me a little studio in my spare bedroom and maybe hop on every once in a while to say hi.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
We're glad you came on.
Yeah,
thanks
absolutely,
for the invite.
man. I enjoy meeting people, especially through this. You know, we're gonna go down here, here in about a week and a half and meet Ben and Joe, my wife and my wife and I and my little kids we're gonna go down there. So it's cool because it just opens up a whole new community, and Mark and I are really big on community, and physically and like this, because it's cool, especially we've talked with Jess and Pam several times, and I don't know if you're familiar with what they do. They're all Mark, Pam, Jess, and they have a few other members, but they're part of a paranormal research group. Was it Bordertown Paranormal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they just got finished in late September putting on the Bordertown Paracon. They have a big Paracon down here in Caney, and it's growing. It's pretty awesome, man. I mean, you got to look for it next year. I mean, and come down and check it out.
Do that. Did you have a lot of folks show up this year?
We had about 120.
Yeah, we had 16 speakers.
Wow.
Yeah, and we already have 20 for next year.
Yeah.
Sweet.
We had people signing on because we did a Facebook Live and a YouTube Live, and I came home that night and in the morning too, and had messages from other investigators and authors and historians asking to be on panels next year. So
yeah, and
nice.
We've doubled or more every year we've done this.
Yeah.
So
just to let you guys know, I don't know if I let you know, but I sent Ben and Joe an invite to come up and talk UFOs.
That would be awesome.
Wow.
I'll touch base with them again here in a couple weeks and just see if they're interested in it.
That would be awesome.
That would be cool.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
We hold this in Caney, and Caney has just a little less than 2,000 people in it for the population. So pretty good for the size of town it is.
Yeah, that is. I'm sure people are pretty surprised to see that many people show up.
Oh, yeah.
Take it easy, Sonny, man.
Later, Sonny.
Bye, Sonny.
Bye.
Later, dude.
I got to meet Sonny in person earlier this year at Dave Scott, who does the his show
SOR.
Does the SOR show, and he had that meetup in Vegas earlier this year, which is not that far away from where Sonny lives.
Right.
So Sonny drove in. I drove in. I actually drove from Wichita to Denver and picked up Thin Lizzie Borden, if anyone's seen her.
Oh yeah.
And we gave her the lift into Vegas from there, and spent a few days there. Met a ton of people. I think my favorite part, because by that time I'd done a few of the weekend shows there on Dave's thing, when Willie was on there and all that. And I think my favorite thing was like the third night there in Vegas is when it was right after they did like the live show. So the live show was over. Everybody was all down in the bar. So all the fans were there because some people only came in just for the show that one day and all that. And people that I didn't know and may have said hi to them or something like that in just the chats on the screen. Literally like grabbed me to pull me out of the bar. It's like we just like four different people. That's the problem with like the place we were at, the Golden Nugget. which is there in downtown area, and everything is so loud down there. Everywhere you go, it's loud. They'd pull me out to the casino floor because it was the quietest area. It was on the casino floor, and they literally was like, "We just want to hear your story, and we want you to listen to ours because we know you're not going to judge us, you're not going to make fun of us. You're going to be open and willing to listen. We would just like to have that minute." And I was like, "You'll have all the time in the world, my friends." And we one at a time went around our little group. There was 5 of us. 4 of these people that grabbed me out of there, and I absolutely loved it. It was my favorite thing about the entire trip. I don't remember much of else because I was drunk, but that's a whole other story. But it was
as long as you don't break any major laws, it's okay.
Well,
but that's what it's about.
They couldn't prove it.
I know Ben and Joe, that they are open to anybody's story. They'll listen. We're the same way. If somebody's got a story, I'm not going to judge you because everybody here has had an experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to judge anybody. I'm not going to tell them, you're full of crap. It was your imagination. No, I mean, I've said several times, that if you believe you experienced it, guess what? You experienced it.
Exactly. I feel the universe is big enough and we know so little about it that it's certainly strange enough that kind of anything is possible. And once we find out whatever the truth is, it's going to be so cosmically weird, more weird than we really thought it would be, that everyone's going to be shocked, I feel.
Well, truth is always stranger than fiction.
Exactly. Yep. But it's pretty amazing stuff.
All right. Well,
we run over.
Get off here. I might have to get off here and get ready for bed.
Enzo, we would love to have you at the Paracon if you want to come next year.
Sure, I'd love to be there. Just let me know. I'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll put you on a panel if you want.
Our Paracon is a little bit different than most. We do a big round table is what it is. We do panels on every kind of topic you can think of. And it's really just an open forum to talk about your theories and what you think. And we let the public join in and tell their stories. And I was really excited this year. It really was about just getting all these different fields together and to get them to cooperate a little bit. And since then, every one of our speakers has friended every other speaker on Facebook. Wow. They have all...
Yeah. I've got several.
Yes, we have Bigfoot cryptozoologists, friends with haunted authors, and just it's fantastic. Everybody made friends, so we would love to have you if you'd like to come.
That's actually miraculous. If you're getting
crypto,
ghost, and UFO people to talk to each other and friend each other, and
groups getting
that's actually a lot. You guys did fantastic.
There were no fist fights or even arguments.
No, none.
I kind of expected a fist fight.
No heated.
Well, it's pretty amazing the things that you can talk out in person versus when everyone's talking through this.
Exactly.
This somehow becomes this weird filter kind of mask for some people.
Yeah.
That they feel that it's okay to say ridiculous things and
that was the point. Yeah. The point was to get everybody into the same room together. We had people from all the 4 states. We had people from Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri all in the same room together. We had Bigfoot people. We had cryptozoologists. We had authors. We had historians. We had paranormal teams. We had a tarot reader. We had mediums all on the same panels talking about these fantastic topics. And everybody giving their own theories and just kind of being open to all of it. And like I said, they're all friends now. So I think we kind of accomplished.
That's awesome.
It's all about community.
Yep.
Yeah.
It really is.
It really is. We have a lot more in common with each other than we probably know. We just need to compare some notes.
Yes.
And not do it through this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to encourage.
It's all connected. That's our favorite.
Yeah, that's
I totally agree.
Tagline,
that's actually one of the things that brought me to this is because it wasn't that long ago that I was kind of ambivalent about like Bigfoot. It's like campfire stories. But I'm a big fan of Les Stroud, who does Survivor Man TV show. Big fan of his show. And a couple of years ago, he came out with that series of specials about Bigfoot. Is it real? And at the end of it, he said it's certainly possible for as a minimum. You know, he had his own. If you've seen the show, it's all available free on his YouTube. Not that I'm affiliated or plugging him or anything, but he actually did director's commentaries during all the lockdowns because he had nothing else to do either for all of those shows. So if you check out his YouTube, you can see expanded versions of those shows. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Awesome.
I like it. I'll have to check it out.
And I think, didn't we, have we, what day were we going to do it next year? We said
September 30th.
Yeah, September 30th. So mark your calendar.
The last Saturday of September.
Yeah. It goes right along with National Ghost Hunting Day.
Oh. I had a really minor ghost thing myself. So that's something I need more information on. I don't disbelieve it in it by any means, but it's just I don't have a lot of personal experience with it. So I definitely want to hear more about that kind of thing.
This is a place to do it because everybody was really having fun sharing stories and jumping back and forth between legends and lore. And
we talk about ghosts, we talk about tulpas and time slips and dimensional slips.
Had a whole section on equipment.
Yeah, proper use of equipment. We had a little joke going on that the best place to be was in the green room, because what would happen was, because this was our first year that we knew we were really going to have some of the public there, like the public was going to be there. Right. So we kind of dumbed down the subjects a little bit and kind of left them vague. Like we had a section on just aliens, UFO, UAP. You know, that can go a million different directions for us, but we knew that we had to keep it a little chill for the public. And we wanted to kind of like invite them in and start getting them rolling. And then as the years pass, we can really get into these subjects a little bit more. But we were joking that
how weird we were.
Yeah, we would get rolling on these panels. Our longest panels were like hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours long. And we would really just start getting rolling, and we would try to keep it tame enough for the public to understand what the heck it is we were talking about. But the minute the panels broke, we'd have these 10-minute breaks where we could hit the green room. And that's where the real talks went on.
Yep.
Because you could finally,
it was brilliant.
Yes, because you're kind of cut loose. You're not,
yes,
not that, any kind of public speaking thing. You are doing a performance.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but your guards are down. You can kind of relaxed a little bit more. It's one of those things where it's like there should be like a live cam going in the green room all the time, kind of a thing, just for like that's your backstage pass kind of a person.
Exactly. That may be something we have to do in the coming years, but that's where the great talks went on. Like, Bigfoot people getting together with, like haunted people and stuff. And they were like, oh, well, this and that. And oh, it was such a great thing, because we knew that walking into this could be bad. And I actually started the day with a talk to the panelists. I spoke to them directly. I was like, listen here, this is all about it's connected, and we're going to keep open minds today, and we're not going to talk down to anybody, and we're not going to shoot down people's theories. We're just going to let them have their say, and you get to have your say, and then we're going to move along, and we're going to be happy, nice people about this. And they all agreed, and it just went.
It was
super smooth.
Fantastic.
It was the best day of the whole year. It was great.
I can tell by Pam's smile
it was amazing.
How far away do you think the farthest traveler was to come to your show?
Public or a speaker?
Public, actually. I was curious how many. Like, was it just like local folk, or was it just
no
people from all over?
There was, I think the furthest was from close to Elk City, Oklahoma, which is southwest of Oklahoma City.
Somebody from Atchison.
No, there was somebody from up above Atchison.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
And we had somebody come from the other corner of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good try.
Yeah.
People from Ark City.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the panelists came in and stayed overnight a couple of days because they were from so far away. And they did it on their own dime. So
Wow.
we were just kind
Yeah,
of
because
amazed.
we didn't charge admission fees to the public. So,
No,
this was
it was
all
free.
we were going to start it out with just
It sounds like
pretty,
an amazing thing.
it
that
was,
you guys
yeah.
put together.
so good.
It is. It was
Started
completely
out just a
free.
small room, and Jess came in and she's like, Pam, oh my gosh, all these, I've had so many people respond that they wanted to be on the panels. We got to do something else. So we ended up renting the entire building as opposed to that one room. And the original green room, the green room is what was going to be our original Paracon
Venue.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole venue.
Yeah.
The whole gym.
We actually, we rented out an entire rec center. Like the panels and the vendors were in the gymnasium. And then the middle huge hallway section was the entry and where we had all the door prizes and where the tarot card reader was. And then the green room was off to the back. So we had like a whole building
Wow,
all
that is
day.
amazing. I'm
It was
certainly
fun.
going to check this out next year now.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun.
Absolutely.
If you go on our Facebook page, the Facebook Lives, they're still on there. They're archived on there. And kind of give you an idea of what it was like. It was
Yeah.
And this is where you do the plug. How could I find that on Facebook? Where do I look?
SEK Bordertown Paranormal Society on Facebook.
Yes, keyboard. Nice. You'd be
That's
shocked
fancy.
at people that don't know when it's time to plug your wares. It's like,
Oh, we're
it's
terrible.
like
I'm
you
terrible
don't
at
understand. There's a time you have to do that.
Yeah,
It's very limited.
yeah.
But,
I'm bad at it. I assume everybody knows, but no, you're right. Thank you.
it's all about
Yep.
spreading that word.
Absolutely.
We're still working
Absolutely.
on our timing.
Yeah.
It was the best.
Yeah, my
I'm
wife-
already excited for next year.
Yeah, my wife made the comment. She said next year we should have a panelist cookout either before or after. And we kind of talked about that. You guys coming out here and hanging out.
Yeah,
and
we're
you're more
considering
welcome.
that. So, this year we did dinner the night before for all the panelists that had come in early or were already in the area. And Philip was talking about having it out at his house next year and doing just a big old cookout and bonfire and just letting everybody get to know each other
That'd be great.
beforehand.
Good idea. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's
I mean, I
out
can-
kind of away from the city lights, so it's perfect for, UFO watching.
Mm,
There we go.
I like it.
I mean, I could throw some stuff on the smoker. I can take the day off if it's a Friday or whatever. Throw some stuff on the smoker, let it smoke all day, and throw a meal together. Not a problem.
Yeah.
We've got some pretty good UFO stories down from this area too.
Yeah,
Yep.
which
Might
we
be
need to pursue soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
And one of my friends that has been away for a while is actually back in town for the winter, so I need to get with them and get their stories.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I think we probably ought to wrap up. I mean, it's kind of getting late for me, and I know for Mark, he's about to turn into a pumpkin. So
Yeah, I got to get up at 3 a.m. So
I'm whining. So I gotta
Caleb,
get
it's
with
not
them.
fair.
I'm
like
retired.
cookout,
I'm
too.
just getting started. So,
that's right.
that's the goal.
Yeah, my wife said y'all can meet Sarge the PIG hog dog. We got well, about 3 weeks ago we got a pet potbelly pig. So
Oh my gosh, how cool!
oh, it sounds delicious. I mean,
that's
would've
right.
been
Hey,
But anyway, man, Enzo, it was great to chat with you again. You're more than
Thank you
welcome
very much
anytime
for
you want to
having
come
me.
hang out, man.
Good to meet
Just
ya.
jump on the chat.
Yeah.
Message
whenever,
me, whatever.
you like. I have a whole lot of nothing going on. So,
All
That's
right.
And
awesome.
contact us. Contact us and we'll get you hooked up with the Paracon and everything. And since
Yeah,
you're so
definitely.
close, head your way
Yeah.
one day
There we
and
go.
hang out.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Don't forget, everybody, that no show for Monday, but we have a special live episode. It'll be this coming Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Central. We're going to just kind of get together. We've got some panelists coming on. I think Pam and Jess, you guys are still on for Sunday, correct?
Heck yeah.
And then I think I want to say Sonny and I want to say Chad are coming on from the Chad Smith podcast, and then Sonny from Paranormal Chop Shop, who's in the chat. Enzo, you're more welcome to jump on with us. We're just going to come in. We're going to share some Halloween stories. We're going to just have fun, kick the holiday off, and just have a good time. Nothing serious, nothing at all. I mean, this is going to be fun. Just have a chat and see where it goes. Mark, was there anything else we wanted to share? I don't remember.
No, I think we covered it and more.
Yeah,
I really think we missed the bus when we didn't call the show a Down the Rabbit Hole with Mark and Phil.
Yeah, we can change it. We did talk about tulpas.
We did talk about tulpas, and we actually talked about it for most of the show. So I think we did well.
Yeah,
Mission success.
Yeah,
Achievement
absolutely,
unlocked.
man.
Yes.
But by all means, Enzo, you're more welcome to come and hang out with us Sunday too. I mean, we're just getting together, shooting the bull, and sharing some stories. I think
I know I have a couple of appearances that I certainly need to make, and in costume, because everyone seems to be doing that. That's everyone's Halloween day, since it falls on a weekday. So
right.
But if I can, I will swing by.
Yeah, you're like I said, you're more than welcome. I mean, even if you jump in the chat, I'll send you an invite or whatever. I don't know if you guys want to wear costumes. That's fine. I don't know that I'm going to.
Jess is like, I got my costume.
I have hair.
I gotta get mine done. I don't have mine done yet. Till Monday.
Oh, boy.
I might find a Lone Ranger mask or something. I don't know.
But the Lone Ranger or the Hamburglar? Who is that?
Right. Well, most of the younger people that listen don't know who either one of them are. So.
That's true. You're right. You keep saying "robble, robble." I don't quite understand what that means. Right. I think he's trying to stick us up. So, yeah.
My wife called me party pooper. I don't know. I might come up with something. I don't know yet. But with that being said, folks, thanks again for listening. Thanks for hanging out with us in the chat. And thanks for listening. If you're just listening, you really miss a lot, I think, when we go live. So come join us on the live chat and all that good stuff. Again, check us out, whatiftomorrow.media.com and check all that out there. If you want to contact us, whatiftomorrowmedia@whatiftomorrowpc@gmail.com. I got too many things going on here. But anyway, folks, we thank you again, and we'll catch you next episode.